Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Mortgage Coach Tuesday interview. I am Dave Savage. I am coming to you live out of Maryland, Baltimore. I am repping for Sales Boomerang, leave no borrower behind, leave no loan officer behind, leave no profits behind. So guys, it's an extremely exciting time in the mortgage industry. And I think it's exciting because it's a little more chaotic than it's been for the past 2 years. So couldn't have a better guest than Mr. Jeremy Forcier today. What's up, Jay Force?
What's up, Todd? What's up, Dave? I'm doing awesome this morning because it's a choice. And I can't wait to talk about all those choices we got to make right now.
Oh, what a great setup. What's going on, Mr. Bookspan?
You know, I'm just like you. I'm super excited to spend some time with Jeremy. I always walk away in a better place. Jeremy, you always do such a good job of putting a positive spin on the reality that we're in. And Dave, you just said it's going to be chaos. And so I think that this whole idea of the Jeremy Forcier Realtor Playbook is what we all need. So I'm excited to rock and roll today.
Me too. Me too. So guys, let's frame why I said there is chaos in the market today. So I have done an informal survey as to, how much rates have gone up since the beginning of the year. Remember, it's February. So it's not months, it's weeks. And it's coming in anywhere from they're up an entire percent to they're up over 1.5. So that's real. That's from 3% to 4.5%, 2.875 to 4x, significant increase in interest rates. So that alone would create chaos because there's people that you quoted a run rate and now you got to give them a new rate. And that alone creates rate shopping. I have pulled top producers, some of the most successful, highest conversion loan officers in America. And I'm like, oh, is rate shopping up? And it's like, they're laughing. Like everybody's rate shopping. So that creates challenge and chaos. There's not a lot of inventory and actual loans submitted. Like lots of people have a lot of pre-quals. Like I got a lot of leads, but leads are one thing. Homes in escrow, loans closed are another thing. And I hear a range that market's down anywhere from 25% to 50%. And this is the best of the best. So if you're not the best of the best, you probably amplify those results. Now, everybody agrees equity is up. I mean, it's not that we have to agree on it. It's just a data fact. Equity is up, values are up, appraisal gaps are still a concern. There was a time last year where that was the talk of the industry, appraisal gaps. So that sets the table of the tone. It is February 15th, 2022. And what can we do? What can you do to make this year incredible? So Jeremy, why don't you walk us through decisions that are needing to be made right now and the choices you're making?
Sure. So thank you. Great opening, by the way. It's funny when you listen to other people say what's going on and how fear will instantly be the first feeling that I feel. Even though I'm here to talk about how to starve your fear and not be afraid, you still feel it when you listen to someone say, here's all the challenges, and they give you a buffet of bullshit that you got to deal with. But the reality is that a lot of it is BS, right? What can we control? And I ask myself that every single day. And I'm not going to grandstand here today with you guys and say that nothing's going wrong, everything's going right in my business. Listen, it is really stressful, okay? It is a stressful time, but the way that we deal with it and how we look at it is what can create tremendous opportunities. So first and foremost, you start off with the word chaos, okay? And chaos, I love personally, okay? So it is my Achilles heel in the past, and it is a strength now in the future because I know how to deal with it appropriately internally myself, right? So here's why I like chaos. And this is the reason everyone watching this should like chaos in the market. I'm saying in transition with big movements, whether that's prices going up, prices going down, rates going up, rates going down quickly. It's all chaos, okay? The reason why I love it so much is that we are valuable again for the first time in 2 years, okay? As mortgage advisors, right, who give advice, we're valuable for the first time again right now in the last 2 years. The reality is I might have been a little valuable over the last 2 years, but not really. Like, it's like, how hard is it to say that your rate's going to be 2.625, right? It wasn't very hard. right? Now that came with other challenges like keeping up with the work and that side of the chaos. But right now we all have an opportunity to be extremely, extremely valuable to our referral partners, to our borrowers, to your loan officers if you're a manager. And that's where most of my stress comes from. So all you guys watching that work with me, I appreciate you. And we're going to get through this thing. Okay. So for me, it's about chaos equals value, right? That's really what it means to me. So value right now, today for me in this market is playing offense always. That means getting messaging out quickly, right? To referral partners, to borrowers. And I'll give you a great example. Okay. Dave started off at the beginning of this saying like, hey, now someone was pre-approved at one rate and now you got to go back and they haven't bought a house yet. And you have to basically tell them, well, here's what your rate is now, right? So offense, right, and being proactive offensively with messaging would be going back and contacting every single one of your pre-approved borrowers to let them know that you need to look at refreshing their pre-approval because big changes have happened in the market. Okay, we need to look at refreshing your pre-approval because big changes have happened in the market. Right now, when I said that, like, I didn't sound scared, right? So I'm going to give you some tidbits as I walk through this, right? You have to be calm and you can't be more afraid than the people that you are leading. Okay? You have to be calm and you can't be more afraid than the people that you're leading. That includes spouse, children, borrowers, realtors, appraisers, your team members, your processors, your underwriters. You have to be less afraid than everyone else, right? And when you can become less afraid, notice I didn't say no fear. I didn't say no fear, but when you can become less afraid, you will be calm and you will think clearly, and people will ask you way better questions. Now, the last thing you want to do is have someone contact you out of the blue and go, hey, could you rerun some numbers for me? I saw a house that I want to buy. I know we were pre-approved 6 months ago. And then you go, yeah, no problem. You don't educate. Okay. And I've made this mistake, by the way, sharing personal pain, right? Yep, no problem. I'm super busy. Boom. Knock it out. The mortgage coach send it out to him and their response is, oh my God, what happened to your rates? Me. Jeremy, what happened to your rates? And I'm like, of course, the ego side is like, my rates? Does this person live under a rock? You know what I mean? But no, everyone does live under a rock and in their own bubble. Like, I'm the professional. I should have been the one communicating outwardly as to what is going on. Here's an update, etc. So don't let people catch you off guard, right? Because of something that is real and that is known. The only thing that should ever catch us off guard are things that are unknown. So when you know something to be true and you know something's going on in the market, number one thing I would say is reach out to all of your past pre-approved people and say that we need to re-look at the numbers, right? To make sure that you're still qualified for what you'd like to purchase. Step two, reach out to all of your realtors. Hey, we need to reapprove anyone that is pre-approved right now. I did a webinar, okay, 2 weeks ago for a group of about 25 agents, right? And literally my message was, hey, if you have anyone right now that is looking at homes, right, whether they are pre-approved with me or anyone, you need to make sure you reconnect before you submit that offer and make 100% certainty that they are pre-approved for that offer. Number two, if you're a listing agent, this is what I said to them, if you're a listing agent and you have approvals coming in, it's more important than ever to contact the lender. And I know you're busy. I know you probably get 18 calls with 10 offers on your properties, et cetera. But you need to make sure that you ask, are they fully underwritten and approved? Ask when. When did it happen? Okay. By simply sharing that with this group of people, I literally got 11 leads that week from that group of people that were pre-approved elsewhere, right? Who weren't able to get refreshed quick enough to go ahead and make the new offer, right? So 11 leads in 1 week from one presentation. So that's an example of offense. That's an example of being calm. That's an example of making the unknown known and then sharing it and then leading, okay? Now, here's one downside. Okay. The downside is this is going to create a lot of work for you. Okay. Now, the upside is you will close more transactions. You will get more leads and you will look like more of an expert in the marketplace. And it doesn't matter if you've been in the business, okay, for 2 years or 20 years. Okay, by simply providing good messaging and taking a lot of the fear out of the equation and putting yourself in a position to lead people where they can make good decisions with the reality right now is where we're all going to win.
So Jeremy, you've already said so many powerful things. I hope everyone wrote down chaos equals value. I would also add to that, guys, chaos equals differentiation.
Yep.
Because there will be a difference. There will be people that are smarter, that are more on point, that are even working harder during this market than others. So it is a differentiator. Get offensive. Remember what he said there, make sure, I love that, refresh all your pre-approvals, let people know that, hey, big changes has happened and I want you to get ahead of it. So it's all about, like, this is a great opportunity because a lot of loan officers are going to be calling with either whining messages, unclear messages. They're not localizing and personalizing things. So, hey, we got to refresh things. And I want to help you. Reach out to all of your realtors, refresh all their pre-approvals. Jeremy, what are your thoughts on, is it a good time right now to be recruiting new real estate agents?
So glad you asked, Dave. Yes. So this has actually been the easiest time I've had in memory, okay, to get people to have conversations with me. It's been the easiest time in memory, right, to get people I'm not in a working relationship with to talk with me and meet with me. I made a video a few weeks ago, right, that showed, and I believe that we shared it on Mortgage Coach page, that showed here's what's going on in the market, here's the movement, here's what it means, and here's where it could go. This is where we were a month ago, this is where we are today, this is where it could go. Now, ironically, it went there anyway, a lot quicker than I thought, even during that time frame. But that video I sent out to all of the agents that are in my database prospecting list, whether I'm working with them now or not, and the feedback was incredible. I mean, I got feedback from the #1 agent here in the market who I've never worked with. I've done listing sides, right, where they've been the listing agent, never really worked with them, just one-offs here and there. And what I thought was a very simple, right, message, just as like an FYI to get out to people, I got the response from him of like, hey, this is just absolutely gold, right? Thank you so much for sending this out. Sweet, appointment booked, right? So by you leading and being the expert right now and picking up the phone and calling people, I'm going to keep saying the same stuff just so you know, okay? So feel free to write it down 100 times so you remember it. If you can call people with confidence, but confidence comes from calmness, I'm going to keep saying it, confidence comes from calmness. Confidence does not come, by the way, from hyping people up. It's going to be great. This is going to be a great year. This is not a hype man market. Okay. This is a calm equals confidence. And if you're calm with these individuals and you're going to instill way more confidence in them to do their job, they're going to ask you more questions about how you can help them. And you're going to have way more opportunities. So with agents right now, Dave, yeah, I think that communication is critical. It's always really important, but it is of the utmost importance right now because they're scared. It's just a fact. They're scared.
They are, guys. Tremendous opportunity. We'll get that video. It was a mastermind earlier this month. We'll share it. Robert, if you could look for it. I can't remember the name of it, but it's already been watched thousands of times. It was a really good conversation. So Jeremy, I mean, this is the mortgage coach community. So every loan officer in this community either has a mortgage coach, isn't using it enough. And one of the things I'm hearing, because I'm getting calls from executives. I just talked to a CEO a little while ago that I've wanted to talk to for years. And he's like, Dave, we need mortgage coach more than ever. We're getting rate shocked. The fish were jumping in the boat last year. They're not this year. And could you just tell us what you're doing as a mortgage coach? What are some of your most common total cost analysis that you're using with either consumers or with realtors in this market?
So I think there's three primary TCAs that I'm using right now, okay? Number one would be on the refinance side. So let's talk about refis first, okay? There is still tremendous opportunity, you guys, for debt consolidation refinances. Okay, there is also still tremendous opportunity for rate and term refinances to get people out of FHA and into a conventional loan. Okay, even if their payment is going down just $50 a month because the rate is higher on the conventional loan than what they're paying on FHA right now, you can show them the increased tax deductibility, right, and principal pay down by just using the total cost analysis. So I think that those are really two big items that we need to look at. On a cash out refinance as well, I will tell you that your dialogue has to change with people, and it can't be about rate. It has to be about savings on a monthly basis. What's the net savings, right? Yes, your payment is going up, Joel. This is one I did yesterday, right? $252 a month on your mortgage, but net, you're saving $993, right, in monthly payments. Let's take a look if you added that $993 back to your principal payment every single month and show them that they could pay off their loan faster by 12 and a half years than they're currently set up to by simply paying off that debt and making good choices, right? So those are two refinance ones that I'm doing a lot of. On the purchase side, I have a list here that I made because I'm doing all kinds of different TCAs right now that I haven't done in a while. Appraisal gap TCAs in my market, I don't know, everyone's market is different, right? But in my market, appraisal gap TCAs are extremely, extremely important, okay? Because there's a lack of inventory, right? I'm seeing many appraisals come in low right now for me. I just am. And it's not necessarily, and this is the dialogue, this is the education part, that doesn't necessarily mean that the house isn't worth that number that they're paying for it. It's true. It doesn't mean, I'm not talking about people offering $250,000 over, just so you know. I'm saying like on a $425,000 purchase, they're going to put 20% down, appraisal comes in at $375. Okay. It's just happened. I gave an example to you, Dave. I'm happy to walk people through it, but that's going to happen a lot because of the lack of inventory, because there's not a comp, right, that has sold in the last 5 months in that neighborhood. And you can't just keep increasing the value with no sold comps because of time and appreciation. It doesn't work. These are the things that you have to talk about. So what does that dialogue sound like with a borrower, right? It's showing them that, hey, it appraised 50,000 under, but we can still do the deal and your payment doesn't change by utilizing a single premium mortgage insurance product, right? So they were going to put 20% down in this example. Appraisal came in low. They were trying to figure out how they're going to come up with the extra $50,000 to make up the gap. And then you get to come in and look like a hero with a cape on and say, hey, I know that you're talking to your financial planner and you're really concerned about this, but I figured out a way where you don't have to, right, liquidate more stock. You don't have to increase your distribution on your IRA to qualify. All we have to do is come up with an additional $7,000, which you have, and your payment doesn't change. How does that sound? And they were like, oh, are you kidding me? You're a magician. That's all they kept saying. I could read you the praise emails. It's unbelievable, right? But really what you're doing is educating them. But that comes down to appraisal gap. So I'm doing appraisal gap strategy on, I don't know, yesterday I did 4 with people making offers. So once again, offense. I'm going to keep saying the same stuff and bringing it back in, right? Rather than just showing people, hey, you're going to make an offer at 500,000. Here's 3 different options. I literally will show people 2 or 3 options. And then in the third or fourth column, hey, I also wanted to show you, if you put a little bit less down in case the appraisal doesn't come in at value, what that looks like for you, right? That's awesome. So, you can use the TCA to show people that.
What I want to do is I want to make sure we really drill that because I've had that come up over and over. By the way, guys, I put a link to the video. It's called Every Lead, Every Loan, Every Voice's Point Matters More Than Ever this year with Jeremy Forcier. There's a link on social media. If you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have a link down below. Jeremy, is this the TCA you're referring to? Is it this one right here? Is this your appraisal?
So so that's one version of one. Yes. So that's a great example, right? Where now this one is not the one I was talking about, but it's the same thing. Okay. So same thing. So
well, let's pull up. Is this the one you were talking about?
yes, that was the one that was in contract.
And by the way, notice, guys, Jeremy's putting a video on every single TCA, and still less than 50% of TCAs have a video on it. Jeremy, what's your leadership to anyone who's putting together a TCA and not putting a video on it?
I mean, it's like ordering a cheeseburger for a vegan. I mean, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, no, I don't know how to answer that besides that. Yeah, it's like calling someone and when they pick up, you just don't say anything. Like every single TCA needs to have a video. So, and I've said this in the past, I'll say it again. The only times that I don't include a video is if I've been drinking, okay? Or like I'm just an absolute train wreck and I don't have a second and I'm in a place where I just can't figure out how to do a video. That's it, okay? So 99% of mine have videos. That's where you're gonna have your influence. That's where you're gonna get to present information. Everyone write this down right now. In a non-sales environment. Making a presentation in a non-sales environment has way more influence than you telling someone what they have to do or telling someone, here's what the options are. When you create a video presentation, it allows them to process the information way more clearly. And it's so much more effective because they're coming to their own conclusions. They are either saying, hey, that makes total sense, thank you so much, or they are asking the right questions at that point. So long story short, please put a video on every single one. I would love to see that percentage come up, Dave, from 50% to 90%. I mean, I think a video is absolutely critical on every single TCA that you're doing.
So guys, I want to remind everybody, we do training on this every day of every week. There's either training on our YouTube channel every Wednesday at 11. We're doing mortgage strategy training, and every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, we're doing Q&A and we'll train on this stuff. Anything you want to call out on this before I give it to Deborah and Todd for questions?
Please, if you could just stick in the summary section. So you guys, okay. I know that there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in TCAs. I will say that my personal opinion is that sticking to the basics and walking people through just the summary section is a non-negotiable. Okay, if you're going to do any one thing, it's sticking right here. So in this scenario, what I was showing was the exact scenario that I went over verbally, is that this person was in contract, right? Made an offer. By the way, they made this offer with no financing and no appraisal contingencies, and the realtor never even called me to ask me one thing about it. Do you think that's a problem? That's a problem, right? So you need to also coach. This is once again offense. I didn't berate the realtor, but I did call her and say, hey, you know, next time it'd be great just for a heads up so we can strategize together, right? Like what if, the what ifs matter right now, like in the offers. So they were in contract at 425, 20% down, 4.125% interest rate, okay? Their payments were going to be $1,647 and 81 cents a month. They're super stoked on this purchase, getting closer to their grandkids, etc. Okay, about $91,904 out of pocket. What I showed them is that their appraisal came in at $375, okay, which is column number 2. So the purchase price is still $425, but I wrote down gap $375, right? So the purchase price is still $425, but we can put 10% down because this is a second home purchase, okay? We can put 10% down, which would just bring their loan amount down by $3,000, okay? We can keep the same exact interest rate, and the payment actually went down $12 a month, okay, by buying out mortgage insurance up front. So between the $3,000 more in down payment and by buying out the mortgage insurance for $3,712.50, they were able to get a lower monthly payment, not have to liquidate a bunch of retirement stock, etc. And all they wanted was the same monthly payment. I also went over with them monthly mortgage insurance. But they said, nope, this makes more sense. We'd rather come up with the additional, right? $3,700 to keep our payments the same or lower. So that's a great example of appraisal gap. And it's going to keep happening until there's more inventory. It's going to keep happening. Now, if you were a realtor, I'll ask any of you on here, D Bird, Todd, Dave, if you were a realtor and the appraisal doesn't come in at value, what's the first thing that you all would say?
Oh, crap.
By the listing agent or buyer's agent?
Buyer's agent.
What's the appeal process?
Yes.
What are the comps?
D-Bird's right on it. Well, what comps did they use? Well,
Right.
And it's just like, it always cracks me up. Now, I still always look into it, right? But in this scenario, I looked into it and I was like, well, seems like there's 3 comps within 0.3 miles, right, that have closed. So what comps, Deborah, did the realtor want me to use?
The ones that are going to help the value?
The ones that aren't closed yet.
Yeah.
So educational moment, right? Hey, I get it. There's these 4 that are in escrow. We have no idea what they're going to close at, and those aren't comps until they close, right? It's like me saying that my San Francisco 49er water glass is vintage and it's worth $9,000. Like, but if I put it up on eBay, it'd probably sell for about 38 cents because that's when it closed, right? So you have to use these educational moments, even with your TCAs, to show clients, right, like how they can win and educate realtors as to what the realities are and still close transactions, even if there's going to be hurdles.
Well, and I love it too, because you already showed the gap strategy. So even if the realtor was right and you could have used some other comp, you already had the client calm down and already had a plan of attack. And then if you would have been able to file an appeal and get it upped, great, more power to you and your client, but you already solved the problem.
Yeah. Here's what the email said, by the way, from the realtor and with the borrower on it. Oh my God, this is great. Should we continue forward with the appeal process anyhow? Right. And this is the borrower's response. Nope, we're totally all good. This is great. Let's not waste any time for something that could be inevitable anyway. Right. So just providing that education, I think, is extremely important. So appraisal gap is happening on almost all my offers right now when I'm sending out TCAs. Okay. That's probably the biggest difference I'm doing.
So guys, homework assignment, every video in this playlist, it's called the Mortgage Coach Agent Advantage playlist. They're all under 5 minutes. These are all videos from mortgage coaches to real estate agents. Like literally, like this is how Amber Kovark has the appraisal conversation with an agent. This is how Shayla Gifford has the cost of waiting analysis with a real estate agent. A move up. So watch all these. They're 5 minutes a pop. It makes perfect sense in this market, and it gives you a huge competitive advantage. Deborah, anything you want to ask Jeremy or anything you want to call out from the conversation so far?
Yeah, I mean, I will say this is why I have so many clients who've invested in Lender Launchpad, is because you can create exactly what your YouTube channel just showed, Dave. You can have a story, basically a playbook of all your TCAs that you can then direct your agents to as your own educational library, where imagine, this is why I'm so passionate about one-to-many. If you do a mastermind with agents or you send a mass email just of this little educational nugget that Jeremy just shared, then you're getting all your agents on the same bus going the same speed at the same time and equipping them to be better, stronger, instead of having this come up individually on every single transaction where you're repeating the lesson.
Yeah, here's a response I've never gotten, just so you know. Wow, those rates seem really high. When you're going through a strategy on how to accomplish something. So strategy matters a lot. Okay, strategy matters a lot, especially if you're on the offense, which is my word of the day, as you know.
But I think it's also a key, you have to have the video in there so that people understand. I mean, we have too many decisions we have to make in a day as it is, that if you were to just see the chart, yes, it makes it easy looking at the graph and the summary. But I think Jeremy's dead on. I would challenge the community to get that number up to 90% as well, where you have to, your opportunity cost of not doing video, where you're losing potential connection and trust. It's like, why? Unless you're drunk or not in a good mental state, then that's a new standard I'd like to see in the community of doing video with your TCA.
Totally.
No more ordering cheeseburgers for vegans.
No, yeah, it's so silly. Like, why would you do that? You know, so I think that's a big one that I'm doing a lot right now. The other thing that I'm doing a lot right now too is just giving people different options, but my dialogue has absolutely changed in regarding to like paying a ton of fees to buy down an interest rate. Okay. So my dialogue has changed a lot. I'm still showing the option. I'm still letting people know that there is no right or wrong option, which I think is important for us all to remember, to say that it is their choice at the end of the day, right? There is, so I end almost every single TCA with, hey, there's not a right or wrong option here. Here's what I would do and why, right? That's how I end almost every single one of them. Here's what I would do and why, but honestly, there's not a right or wrong option. It depends on what's most important to you. Let me give you a great example. 2 weeks ago, we had a first-time home buyer go into contract, okay? And it's an expensive home for a first-time home buyer. You know, it's like $800,000. And when I did the numbers, I went through the presentation with them, and I was like, hey, I would take 4.375% personally, right? Because it's going to save you a lot of cash out of pocket. You don't, you know, rather than the 2.875, like the spread was that big, by the way, jumbo loan. And I was like, you can get a huge credit, save money. Money's more important to you. First time, I want to make sure you have reserves, right? That because stuff's going to come up with the house that you're not anticipating. And you can always refinance this loan in the future. And there's a high probability that at some point in time in the next 2 years, that rates will go down, which is true. Okay. So I had this conversation with them, but then when we got on the phone, they were like, hey, so my mom is going to give us an extra 60,000, right, for the gift. So then guess what? My opinion changed. I was like, well, in that case, how do you want to spend the money? It's not yours, right? And they were like, we want to pay the 3 points for the 2 point whatever. And I said, I would too. I mean, it doesn't impact any of your cash. So context always matters when you're giving advice, right? And it's okay to change your opinion based on new information. It's just something I went over with a lot of my salespeople in a what I call coffee talk I do every other Wednesday with my group. And I went over this with them last time because they get so focused on being finite and being like, this is it, this is what you should do, rather than having an evolving opinion, right, based on information that's presented to you. It's the same thing that we ask of our clients, but we need to be open to it ourselves as well. So it's okay to have an evolving opinion based on information that you get.
Dang, that's a mic drop.
Huge mic drop. So one of
Yeah.
the things I want to get out of this is I want to write a blog post that is Jeremy's 2022 Realtor Playbook. So we're going to create a transcription from this. We're going to give you guys step by one, step 2, step 3. Jeremy, are there any other steps that you want to make sure we cover in this call, knowing that we want every loan officer prepared for spring home buying season? We want them to know what are the top TCA conversations they need to have one-on-one, one-to-many, and then anything else, any prospecting tips or strategies for folks?
Absolutely. So I think that the best prospecting tip right now that I could give that I am executing that's working is people that you have already worked with. Okay, so I'm going to use Realtors as this example, right? So I'm reaching out to 3 agents that I'm in relationship with already per week, and I'm asking them for introduction to 2 or 3 realtors that they really like working with or they think are cool. Okay. What are 3 people that you think are cool or that you like working with, you know, in recent history? And I will tell you that it is probably the easiest way to get an appointment with an agent, right? And why is that? Well, if I ask Dave for an introduction to 3 people, right, that he knows and likes, and that's the context of the introduction, there is a high probability that that person is going to, in the minimum, talk to me, right? But also meet with me, right? So they're probably going to talk to me. They're probably going to meet with me. And I will tell you, when I went over this with my group of LOs, the first thing they said was, that sounds too easy. That was the first thing, right? Does it really work? That sounds too easy. The second thing that came up from them was, I don't feel comfortable telling them that because they want to be the only one that I work with. And I think that I think kept coming up. I think that they might be offended. I think that I don't know if they want to share me. And I was like, man, you're not that important. What are you talking about? They don't want to share you. Like, you come on. Like, they're going to introduce you to people. If you're in a relationship with someone, they want to see you win, right? So here's a really simple text. I did this in a text to someone, and this was the answer. 3 agents I liked: Alicia blank, phone number, email. And then they gave me context: listing agent on Johnny Zampa's deal that we did. Carla blank, phone number and email. Buyer's agent on Shannon Kelly, right? Next one. And then they just went through and literally gave them all to me. It works so well. So in 1 week of doing this, I've gotten 15 names of people that I don't work with, right? Who don't know me. I don't know them. And I'm going through and calling all of them, and I haven't had one person say no. They've all talked to me, right? So use that. I think it's such a simple way to get in front of agents right now, is just from introductions from people that you're already working with. Now, if you're newer in the industry, or let's say that you don't have, 20 realtor relationships, you don't have 10 even, which is fine. You can do this with anyone that you know, by the way. Everyone knows real estate agents. Everybody. It's just the truth. You could call your friends, you could call your family, you could be like, hey, when you think of like real estate, who are the top 2 names that you think of realtors in your market? They'll give you names because they have eyes, and they drive cars, and they see signs in front of a house, which is a great indication that that person might be a successful real estate agent, right? And you can use those opportunities when you're calling. Hey, Todd, my good client, Deborah Bird, and she said that you were an awesome realtor. I asked her who the top realtor was that came to mind in the market, and she brought up your name. I'm looking to connect with the top people in the market to see how I can help you grow your business. Could we meet for 15 minutes to show you how I could help? Like, it's not complicated. Okay. Oversimplify, right? So I'd say that is a big tip right now on getting new realtor relationships, new realtor appointments, having good conversations, is just getting introduced by someone else, right? Now, we all know that salespeople, I'm not going to say realtors because it sounds like I'm throwing them under the bus, but this is true for all of us. Salespeople in general, if Deborah referred me Todd, and I'm busy or I don't want to talk to someone, because Deborah referred Todd to me, I'm going to do right by Deborah and have a conversation. I'm going to do it, right? So it's the same with those realtor relationships. So I think it's very, very, very important that you do that. Another one to do some prospecting and lead generation type stuff is, I think that focusing on products, because products are important again. I think products are very important again, by the way. Like, spend 15 to 30 minutes a week on your company's intranet, or if you're a broker, discovering different products from different companies that you're approved with, and going through like, what's a guideline or a product that I need to learn about right now, so that I can have those types of conversations in the market, right? So asset qualifier loans, DSCR loans, bank statement for self-employed borrowers. Educate yourself on new products that maybe you haven't done in the last few years. And that way you can have better conversations with people as they come across your desk, and you can find more solutions for people that you just aren't thinking of because maybe they don't fit into a conventional box. I think all of those things it's all the basics once again, but the basics will always be valuable. You just have to be on offense and communicate them.
Hey, Jeremy, can I take you back to your realtor call when you're calling that new realtor? And I love your script about meeting with them for 15 minutes to help them grow their business. Can you give us a little bit of overcoming objections? Because I think a lot of realtors or a lot of loan officers are thinking just what you said your LOs were thinking. I think they're going to say no. I think they're going to say yes. Jeremy's so good. Of course, they're going to say yes to Jeremy. But I got to imagine that some of them, maybe 1 or 2 of them said, Jeremy, I don't know. Or what kind of objections did you get, and how did you overcome those?
Sure. So we all get objections, okay? But the worst objection—
You want to role play, Jeremy?
Yeah, I'll role play the hell out of this, no problem. So the worst objection that any of us can ever get, I want everyone to write this down too, is the one that's unspoken. Okay. We're so sensitive around getting outward objection, which is hilarious to me, because if you get the outward objection, you got something to work with. Okay, you got something to work with, but the unspoken objection is the killer, right? So you either want objections, because you can write this down too. An objection is just a request for information. Okay, that's how I brainwash myself to love objections. Okay, an objection is just a request for information. That's all it is. Okay, it's super, super simple. All right, I'm gonna role play with you, Deborah.
Okay,
Hey, what's up, Deborah? It's Jeremy Forcier, Cross Country Mortgage. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good. Hey, you were referred to me by Todd Bookspan. He said that you were his favorite realtor in the area, and I was looking just to connect with great people.
Yeah, I'm really not working with buyers right now. I'm a listing agent and focused on listings.
Oh, me neither. That is perfect. I'm not working with any buyers either, because there is literally nothing to sell. How are you getting your listings?
I'm prospecting, I'm doing social media one-to-many strategies.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I would love to meet with you regardless. That way, when you see an offer come through on one of your listings, you'll be familiar with my process. And I'd love to show you how we guarantee a close of escrow with your seller, or we pay a $10,000 penalty.
Wow. Okay. Only if you use Mortgage Coach. I only work with lenders that
Yeah,
use Mortgage Coach.
maybe you can teach me something about how you're using social, because I'm really bad at it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
but I would love to meet with you. Honestly, no pressure sale or anything like that. I'm literally just looking to connect with the best people, because I always think good people should know good people in the marketplace.
Okay. Sounds good.
Great.
Jeremy, what are the most common objections you're actually getting in the marketplace today right now?
I mean, the context of this is like someone referred me. There's almost none, just so you guys know, like, because it's a triangle of trust situation, right? But in general, otherwise, I'm super busy. Okay, that's always like the objection, regardless of market. Hey, I'm super, super busy, right? And this is my favorite response always. And I go, oh, me too. I only work with busy people. I literally only want to talk to busy people, because they're the ones who are always getting everything done. Right? So that's an easy objection. Another one to like, hey, I'm super busy is, that's awesome. Busy doing what? What are you working on? You know, what are you doing? Like, and I don't want to like make this sound like it's a comedy skit, because it's not, but you do have to challenge people that tell you no. Okay, that's really what I'm getting at here, right? Is that you do have to challenge people that are telling you no. Here's another one all the time that comes up. Hey, I'd be happy to meet with you if you can refer me someone, right? That happens all the time. Hey, if you refer me, I'd be happy to send you some deals. And what is the answer always when someone says that?
Absolutely.
Yes. Great. Let's meet and talk about it. I want to show you how I can generate more referrals for you. Now, when I meet with that person, guess what I'm going over? Take a guess.
Annual mortgage reviews.
Yeah, so I'm going over what I call CCRs, right? So current client referrals. So how many referrals, Todd, if you were the realtor, Todd, I'd be like, hey, so how many referrals are you generating from people that you're working with right now that haven't even closed yet? That means a listing that hasn't closed, or a buyer in contract that hasn't closed.
You know, good question. I don't think too many.
I mean, you know what? No one tracks this stuff, Todd. And I think that it's the biggest missed opportunity in the market, because we're generating on average 16 referrals from people who haven't even closed with us yet. What I would love to show you is how we do that with the referrals and the leads that you give us, and then how we're going to generate more referrals for you that will result in closed transactions simply from the people that you already have. But we do all the work for you.
Then they're just easy, right? Then they're like, okay, how quick can we meet? You ready in 5 minutes?
Yeah. Yeah.
So guys, Jeremy loves to go freestyle. So if you have some scripts you'd like to hear him share, or you have some objections, put them in chat right now. And if you're watching the recording of this on YouTube, we're going to be doing Scriptapalooza pretty soon. And I know Jeremy is going to be one of the leaders on that call. So give us your scripts. What scripts do you need right now? It's February. Think between February and March to get ready for spring home buying season, so that as a mortgage coach, you have a competitive advantage. You can be your best self. You can thrive in a time of chaos. It's game time, guys, and we want to help you. So make sure you let us know how we can help you. Put those down below. So Jeremy, we got about 15 minutes left. I've got a playbook. I want to get a sanity check from you, but that should only take about 5 minutes. And I want to make sure that anything you prepared to share today, any notes you have, we've unpacked those. So is there anything left before I get 5 minutes of you reviewing a playbook that we're going to be sharing and creating on the community?
No, I'm happy to go down that direction. I mean, I have a bunch of bullet points of things that I think are easy opportunities, like easy things you could talk about with agents and with borrowers, but specifically with realtors. And I have a list. I'm happy just to give you the list. That way you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks of messaging. Okay, so you can have 7 weeks. If you just pick one a week, you can have 7 weeks of messaging. So,
well, I want to get some samples of that. We'll get that in the community, guys. I will add that to this playbook. So when we put this playbook in our blog, we'll have it. So Jeremy, can you see my screen right now?
yes, sir.
So I always like to start with just principles, like things that are foundational that you have to have. And I do believe at Mortgage Coach, we have disrupted the fee worksheet. And if you're still a fee worksheet loan officer, you can't do mortgage strategies. You can't even play this game. So I'm saying principle number 1, every borrower must get a TCA to optimize conversion, reduce rate shopping, and optimize realtor referrals. We align on that one?
100%.
Every realtor must be TCA educated so they understand the value of your sales experience and how you're unique in the market. And you've covered this a lot in the past. Are you doing anything different there? Like, what is your process on that?
So my process is pretty simple around this, and there's kind of 3 different iterations, and I'll go through them very quickly, okay? So the first iteration is super simple. Any borrower that gets a TCA, the realtor is included on the email every single time. So any borrower, right, that wants a TCA or is pre-approved or is making an offer in contract, whatever it is, if I'm making a TCA specifically for a borrower, they are included on it every time. Education can't be just one time. It has to be over and over and over and over again. So when you include them on your TCAs, they watch them. They will click on it. They will say, thanks, Deborah, so much for that. They will champion you in a reply all, right? That is building even more trust. So that's one on education, is include them on all. Number 2 is the one-to-many, right? The one-to-many. And I'm getting better at this, not great at it, getting way better at this, right? With creating videos that aren't specific just to one person. They can be more specific to a scenario, right? That's critical. I think it's really important. You can send that out to tons of different people with context on a strategy so they can learn about it. And then number 3, I would say, is that if you're meeting with a newer realtor or a new referral partner in general, walk them through why you create a TCA. Just do it. You want to talk about an easy way to show value? I could just ask Deborah if she was a listing agent. Hey, well, Deborah, like, what's a listing that you have right now, that's coming up? And she says, oh, 123 Cash Lane, purchase price is going to be, around 600. Hey, I would love to create a video for you that kind of shows you our process and how we interact with clients, just so you can get a feel for our process, why it works, and what's different about us. So you can create those opportunities with people to make total cost analysis and send them out so that they get educated. That's realtor education on the TCA, in my opinion.
Love that, guys. And then the 5 strategies that I have, principle number 3, you got to win by noon, guys. I mean, it is time to get up, get your prospecting done by noon, do at least one TCA by noon, like win by noon. And if there's something else, which I'm sure there are more things that you need to do to win by noon, but it's never been more important to win by noon. Any color on that, Jeremy?
No. Once again, it's just like doing a video every single time. Like, I've tried to get prospecting in, you guys, afternoon. Wow, is that a double entendre? Afternoon. Yeah. So afternoon. Jay-Z said it best, baby. So, but I will tell you that like 70% of the time, stuff will come up, you will get distracted, and you will not complete it. Whenever I do, and someone taught me that, by the way, very, very early on in my career. They told me when I was overwhelmed and I was a new loan officer, they were like, hey, everything in real estate on the realtor side and all that stuff and borrower communication can wait until after 12 p.m. Right? So before 12 p.m. has to be sacred. Right? So I totally agree with that.
So guys, you can get your Win by Noon shirts. You can get your Win by Noon stickers. You can also get mortgage coach stickers and shirts at the Win by Noon store. So check that out, y'all. Also, guys, you need to be super nice. It's never been more important to be nice. So check out superniceclub.com. Jeremy is a big super nice guy. So 5 strategies. And tell me if there's some that I'm missing from here. But number 1, cost of waiting. And that's key. Number 2 is only showing interest rate options. Actually, I interviewed Gina Myers, and I think you had coached her last year. And I don't know if you know this or not, Jeremy, but she started using Mortgage Coach last year and did over 1,000 TCAs last year in 1 single year and became a grandmaster in 12 months or less. So thank you for making that happen, by the way.
Yep, she's great.
Yeah, do you still think that interest rate option TCA is just pure gold for reducing rate shopping in today's market?
So just to make sure I understand it correctly, like more than one option at all times, right?
Yeah, well, what you taught her and is like, I want people to shop, and you'll notice Gina is putting a video on it. She's putting a video on it, and she's like doing 1 at no points for purchase, 1 at a few points, all the way to like 1 3/4. And the way, again, guys, in this playbook, you'll have a link to the, a 24-minute video by her and her TCA. But that way, when the consumer looks at you, they don't just think of you as one rate, they're thinking of you of different rates. Is that still a cornerstone
100%.
strategy?
So strategy for me is that before in escrow, so not in escrow yet, it's a range of rates all with the same fees, personally.
Okay.
Right. And then in escrow, rates with all different fee options. Right. So the step by step for me is educate first on that rates change all the time. Okay. So I'm going to show you 3.5, 4, 4.5. What I want to show you, Mr. and Mrs. Borrower, right, is that interest rates change all the time. I don't know where they'll be, but what is important is that you know how the interest rate affects your monthly payment. That way you're never surprised by anything in the market when you're budgeting for your house, right? So that's my dialogue, my script in the pre-escrow TCA. In escrow TCA is the same exact as what Gina just showed, right? It would be, here's 3 or 4 options, right, with different cost structures. There's not a right or wrong option. If it were me personally, I would pick option 1, but there literally isn't a right or wrong option. So let me know what you'd like. Let me know what questions you may have, and then we'll do whatever you want at the end of the day.
Beautiful. So let me just get through a few more. A move up TCA. So literally showing people, hey, you're in home 1, home 2. Do you want to stay where you're at, or do you want to move up? A first-time home buyer TCA, and we got the one and only Denise Donahue in the playbook that we're creating. You'll see Denise's 5-minute video and her TCA. And then this is a new one. I'm actually doing an interview for TMC, the Mortgage Collaborative, today, and I'm interviewing a loan officer by the name of Gracie Morrow. It's the first time I've interviewed Gracie, and she's like creating one TCA, and then she's showing the way she described it to me in the prep call is program 1 is what the person applied for. And then she's always showing maximum purchase price or maximum qualification. So like, hey, this is what you applied for. This is your max. And then she's always integrating a appraisal gap so that every time she's showing them the range and she's showing them an appraisal gap. I haven't heard the pitch yet, but it sounds like a pretty interesting concept. And then she'll even turn it into a cost of waiting if it turns into that conversation. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's great. I mean, the initial conversation with any lead, I know that I say this, I'm going to keep saying it. Context is so important, right? So I'm always asking, first question I always ask after the chit chat is like, hey, have you thought about like a monthly payment budget? Not a purchase price, but have you thought about a monthly payment budget, right? It's always the first question I ask, right? After that, I say, have you casually been looking? And if so, what is the price range? So the reason I ask them in those orders, I already know what the gap potentially could be with what they want versus what they actually want to pay, right? So then the conversation is that, listen, we can qualify two different ways as a lender, and we can do both at the same time, right? I can show you exactly what you're looking at to stay within your payment budget. And I'm also going to show you, here's what your max, approval is. Now, you might not want to pay that at all, but it will give you really good context to like where you're looking at. So if you do see something that is mind blowing and really, really interesting to you, that you know that you can actually do it, and we can talk about a strategy for that. So I think it's a great strategy.
Cool. And then guys, just to be clear, I'm not going to release this playbook yet. I want to make sure that Todd and Deborah add to it. I want to make sure Jeremy checks it out. Also, Shayla Gifford, I did an interview a couple of weeks ago on how Shayla is winning realtors. I want to make sure some of that interview is interweaved into this, but we should have it ready for you in a week. So keep an eye out for it. We're also going to put training resources. So we're not just giving you ideas. We're saying, here's the ideas. Here's how you can get the training you need to implement it. I've got one more thing I want to share with you, Jeremy, and then I want to hand it off to Todd and Deborah for any closing thoughts. Are you still having this, where were we, where are we going? Is that still words you're using and a TCA that you're doing from a few weeks ago?
Yeah, so just depends on the context of my relationship. I mean, with the client, right? So if someone that I've talked to, I mean, we're getting to the point where that's not going to matter very soon, just so you know. Like once something has been a norm for, call it 30, 60, 90 days max, then it's a new norm. But I still think that this is extremely powerful right now, because people are still getting pop-up ads saying 1.875% rate in APR. Okay, people are still getting those pop-up ads, so they're seeing something different. Once that changes and more time goes by, I think that this will be less necessary or less impactful. But yes, I absolutely still am doing this, especially, to go back to the very beginning of our call, especially with people that you pre-approved over a month ago. Okay, people that you've pre-approved over a month ago, really, really critical that you show them this.
Beautiful. So by the way, guys, this is the pre-approval refresh. When you're, and this is what you're showing your realtors. Hey, realtors, I'm going to create urgency and do a pre-approval research refresh. This is what it looks like.
Hey, Dave,
so when
will you go back to that real quick? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
You scroll down just a little bit.
Yeah. Tell me when to stop.
So here's stop. So this person closed yesterday, just so you guys know. 17-day close. Okay, start to finish. And guess what rate they got? It wasn't where we are, just so you know, because it went up since I showed them this, right? So they ended up with the where we are going, and that happened in literally 2 weeks.
Wow.
Right? For this scenario, for their specific scenario, right? It happened. But guess what? Wasn't freaked out, no pushback, because you educated them. So use these tools, put a video in, walk them through it, and make all the unknowns known so that it's easier conversation for you to have with your borrowers.
And he created future casting expectation, guys. He future casted the expectation so that when the future happened, he was the visionary. He's the one that was the leader, and he made it clear to him. So guys, one thing that I think is super important in this market, and it's one of the reasons why when I partnered with LLR and now have Sales Boomerang as part of the Mortgage Coach platform, is that it's never been more important that you know your database, and they're not just blank faces, guys. You need to have big data technologies so that you know who the cash out refis in your database. You know who's likely to be buying a home. And so, one of the things that we could do now, one of the things I love about Sales Boomerang is it will have a rate watch, so that when rates get to a certain area, it will identify those clients. It will also show you who are the cash out refis, who are the people that are most likely to need a cash out refi. and it will auto create a total cost analysis. So when we put this playbook together, and when I interviewed Shayla, like there was no prep. Shayla's first thing is Realtor Playbook for 2022 was database. And then she gave 3 specific realtor strategies. So just remember, when you're preparing for the market that we live in right now, don't forget your database. Your database is your future, and it's also valuable in today's market. So Jeremy, we are at the top of the hour. Any final thoughts for you before I give it to Todd Deb to close out?
No, I mean, I would say if I was to leave anyone like with a final thought, it would be that it is stressful, you guys. Okay. Once again, yes, change is hard, but it's necessary, right? So, I read a quote this morning. I sent this to my team, and I'll just leave you with it. Never give up, for that is just the place and time where the tide will turn. Just always remember that. Don't give up. If you feel like you're not winning, like from a transaction standpoint, I'm not, by the way, find things that you can win in. Number of talk tos, your prospecting, number of people you're meeting with, number of TCAs you create, etc. Find ways that you can win from an activity standpoint. And I think when June comes around, by the way, May, I don't want to say too far out, everyone's get freaked out. Let's say April, May, and June, I think we're all going to be laughing, because I think that there's still a huge, crazy opportunity, and the purchase market's going to be booming this year.
Deborah, any closing thoughts you have before Todd win by noon's today's call?
No, just, anyone who's listening, I would really encourage you to go back and listen to that interview that we did with David Childers, as he had a great slide on the volume, the number of sales that happened just last year. So there's a lot of misbeliefs and misperceptions where I feel like we've got to come together and make sure that we're doing the one-to-many and using social to help provide truth in the market. And so one of the tips that Jeremy said when he said study products, I immediately thought, make a video, like make Monday your video recording day where you choose a different product. Say the first Monday of the month is your self-employed, the second Monday of the month is your asset depletion, whatever, and make that a video that you also post. Because if you're going to take the time to study the product, it does no good to just keep it all up here and you wait for the moment when you can share it with someone. So create that annuity of income, put it out there, put it on social, put it on YouTube, and let's do a better job educating with truth and numbers and data, and eliminate the fear and this, misbelief out there that, oh my God, this, interest rates are rising. I made that post about the history of interest rates. I'm like, guys, these rates are still a lot lower than what most people's car loans are. So there's still a lot of opportunity out there. And I think we just need to be really careful what we're feeding in the media, and then what part are you willing to do to provide more truth in your social.
Love it.
So if anybody wants help on social media, you want to do it yourself, follow Deborah. You want help doing it, follow Deborah, private message Deborah. She can help you do that. So Todd, you're up, brother.
I've got 12 pages of notes. Thank you as always, Jeremy. And I love the whole idea that confidence comes out of being calm, right? That Jeremy said you have to be proactive. And really the last thing that Jeremy said is really what I'm going to leave you with. He said, find ways to win from an activity standpoint. What I know, I've got over 100 loan officers right now that are going through my operating system group coaching program. And he or she with the most activities wins, right? It's not rocket science. Those that are actually calling the most people are getting the most leads, and those that are getting the most leads are getting the most applications. And Jeremy just gave you all the reasons to make phone calls, right? Always people are looking for what is the activity they need to do today, right? He laid it out there. You need to requalify your borrowers. You need to actually call your buyer's agents and let them know that they need to be requalifying their borrowers. You need to be calling listing agents and educating listing agents that they need to be requalifying the buyers that are writing offers on their properties. You also need to be going out there and you need to be asking your agents for 3 people that they like or they think are cool, and make the calls that Jeremy says. I was on a call with Rene Rodriguez earlier today in Clubhouse, and he said that typically 61% of people, real estate agents, actually answer their phone. Ironically, you think they should all be answering their phone, but they're not. But the bottom line is Jeremy just gave you the scripts. He helped you give the objections, how to handle those objections. And so the bottom line is this: you need to be proactive starting now with your activity. Go back and rewatch it. Jeremy is great with scripts, right? Write down what he says, memorize it, and then customize it to you, and you're going to go out there and win. That's the bottom line. We want you to be successful in this market, and you will be.
And remember, guys, Jeremy did like a, I don't know, 15-minute video on the 5 questions he asked every realtor at every meeting. And I don't even need to ask him. He's still asking those 5 questions. I'll make sure that's in the resource list. Jeremy, how many, you said you were going to give a topics list or like a scripts list? How
Yeah,
many are in
so
that?
I'm happy to email this to you, but if you guys want like an easy content list to create and what to either call about or make a video about, etc., 1 would be single premium mortgage insurance. 2 would be how to put a clause in the offer if you're an agent making an offer to address appraisal gap, meaning, hey, we will, we commit to, paying $10,000 over whatever the appraised value and if it comes in low, right? Rather than just saying we're going to waive everything, right? Contingent offers and why they're important moving forward. That's my next piece of content I'm making, because I think that's a big deal in this market moving forward. And we have to change the dialogue of the way realtors are thinking about things, that everything has to be non-contingent. I think that tide is changing. So if we want to keep the momentum going, talking about contingent offers, bridge loan, like the difference between a hard money loan and just bridging the gap between another purchase through a product that we can do. Asset qualifier, you don't need any income or employment. If you have a large number of assets, we can still get your buyers a home. A seller buy down strategy. And then what waiving an appraisal is versus an appraisal waiver. I get that question every week, by the way, from realtors. Hey, I was talking to this other person, they said we couldn't waive the appraisal, they couldn't get an appraisal waiver. And it's like, well, there's a big difference between waiving an appraisal upfront versus actually getting a PIW, which you really don't know with 100% until you're in contract. So those are 7 easy pieces of information. If you took 1 per week, called people about, where you can have more constructive conversations.
That'll be in the playbook, guys. Jeremy, you're the man, bro. You rock. If you
Thanks,
do not
guys.
already follow the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, subscribe today. If you are not active in the Mortgage Coach Facebook group, it's actually social media for good. Not all social media is good. Mortgage Coach social media is good. Thank you, everybody, for your time and your attention. This call is a wrap. Take care, y'all.
Appreciate you guys. See you next week.
Bye.